Do pilots prefer Airbus over Boeing? Well, here's something shocking. Boeing's own pilots didn't even know a secret computer system existed on their 737 MAX until it killed 346 people in 2 crashes. Meanwhile, Airbus pilots trust computers so much they sometimes forget how to fly. Stay till the end to discover why Boeing hid this deadly system and which design philosophy pilots actually prefer. Now, let's get into it. Let me break this down in the simplest way possible. Boeing and Airbus, the 2 giants who build almost every passenger plane you'll ever fly on, have completely opposite philosophies about flying. Boeing's motto is simple: the pilot is the boss. Always. Every Boeing plane is designed so that the pilot has the final say in everything. If a Boeing pilot decides they need to do something extreme to save the plane, even if it means breaking the normal rules, the plane will let them do it. Boeing basically says, "We trust the human more than we trust the computer." Now, Airbus looked at the statistics and said, "Wait a minute. Humans cause most plane crashes. We make mistakes. We panic. We get confused." So when Airbus designed their planes starting in 1987, they built in something revolutionary. They programmed the computers to act like a safety guard that won't let pilots do certain dangerous things. Picture it like this. A Boeing is like a car where you can turn off all the safety features if you think you need to. An Airbus is like a car where the computer will literally stop you from driving off a cliff, even if you're pushing the gas pedal as hard as you can. The most obvious difference? Walk into a Boeing cockpit and you'll see a traditional steering wheel. Pilots call it a yoke that looks like it's been in planes for 100 years. Walk into an Airbus and you'll see something that looks like a video game joystick mounted on the side. But this isn't just about looks. These different controls represent 2 completely different relationships between the pilot and the machine. And that difference has killed hundreds of people. Here's something that will blow your mind. When 2 pilots fly a Boeing together, they can actually feel what the other person is doing. The steering wheels are connected. When the captain pulls back, the co-pilot's wheel moves too. You can see it. You can feel it. Total communication. But in an Airbus, the joysticks are completely separate. If your co-pilot suddenly panics and yanks their joystick hard to the left, your joystick doesn't move at all. You won't feel anything. You won't see anything. You have no idea what they're doing unless they tell you. This has actually caused accidents. There's a documented case where both pilots grabbed their joysticks during turbulence and pulled in opposite directions. The computer detected 2 different commands and basically averaged them together. The plane started jerking around violently until the pilots figured out what was happening. Airbus knows this is a problem, so they installed a little green light that turns on when both pilots are fighting for control. But think about that. In a Boeing, you physically feel the problem immediately. In an Airbus, you have to notice a little light while everything is going crazy. The same thing happens with the throttles, the levers that control engine power. In a Boeing, when the autopilot changes power, you can actually watch the throttle levers move by themselves. It's like having a window into what the computer is thinking. In an Airbus, the throttle levers just sit there in fixed positions. You have to trust the computer is doing what you think it's doing. Now let me tell you about the invisible safety systems that could save your life or trap you in a nightmare. When an Airbus is flying normally, it's almost impossible to crash it through pilot error. The computer has what engineers call hard limits, absolute boundaries you cannot cross. Try to pull up too steeply? The computer says no. Try to roll the plane more than 33 degrees? Computer says no. Getting too slow and about to stall? The computer automatically slams the engines to full power and pushes the nose down, whether you want it to or not. It's like having an invisible co-pilot who will grab the controls away from you if you try to do something dangerous. Boeing pilots hate this idea. Their planes have warnings and resistance, but no absolute barriers. If a Boeing pilot truly believes they need to roll more than 33 degrees to avoid hitting another plane, they can do it. If they need to pull harder than normal to escape danger, the plane will let them. Boeing's philosophy is, "I'll warn you loudly, but I'll never stop you." Both approaches sound good in theory, but both have horrifying failure modes. Remember that Airbus that crashed into the Atlantic in 2009? Air France Flight 447 was flying smoothly when ice temporarily blocked the sensors that measure speed. Without speed data, the computer couldn't maintain its safety mode. Suddenly, all those invisible protections disappeared. Here's the tragedy. The young co-pilot had been trained his whole career to trust that the Airbus would never let him stall the plane. So when things went wrong, he pulled back on the joystick, pointing the nose up, and just held it there. In normal mode, the computer would have stopped him, but the protections were gone. The plane stalled at 38,000 feet and fell for 3.5 minutes into the ocean. Everyone died because the pilots had relied so heavily on the computer that they forgot how to fly without it. But before you think Boeing's approach is obviously better, let me tell you about the biggest betrayal in modern aviation history. The shocking truth I mentioned at the start. Boeing built the 737 MAX to compete with Airbus's newest planes. But there was a problem. The new engines changed how the plane handled. So Boeing installed a secret software system called MCAS. This system would automatically push the nose down if it thought the plane was pitching up too much. Here's the unforgivable part. Boeing didn't tell pilots this system existed. It wasn't in the training, it wasn't in the manuals. Pilots had no idea. On October 29, 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 took off from Indonesia. A broken sensor gave MCAS bad information. The system thought the plane was pointing up too steeply, so it started forcing the nose down, over and over and over again. The pilots pulled back, fighting it, but MCAS kept activating every few seconds. The forces became so strong that even the manual backup controls were almost impossible to use. The plane crashed into the ocean. All 189 people died. 5 months later, the exact same thing happened to Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. 157 more people dead. This is exactly what I talked about in The Hook. Boeing's sacred promise that the pilot is always in control was revealed as a complete lie. A hidden computer system was overriding the pilot's commands, and they didn't even know it existed. Boeing deliberately hid MCAS from pilots to avoid expensive additional training requirements, prioritizing profit over safety. And if you want more shocking secrets from the aviation world, hit that subscribe button for Runway Reveals. We expose the hidden truths airlines don't want you to know. The philosophical difference even affects how planes communicate during emergencies. When something breaks on an Airbus, the computer system called ECAM doesn't just tell you there's a problem, it tells you exactly how to fix it. Step-by-step instructions appear right on the screen. Airbus pilots just read and follow the checklist the computer displays. It's fast, standardized, and designed to prevent mistakes. Boeing takes the opposite approach. Their EICAS system tells you what's wrong, but then you have to pull out your handbook and find the right checklist yourself. You're doing the detective work, you're making the diagnosis. The Airbus way is faster and reduces the chance of running the wrong checklist. But here's the catch. Pilots might not understand their systems as deeply because the computer does the thinking. When something really weird happens that the computer wasn't programmed for, Airbus pilots can find themselves confused. The Boeing way keeps pilots constantly engaged with understanding how everything works. But in a crisis, those extra seconds spent finding and reading a checklist could mean the difference between landing safely and catastrophe. These opposite philosophies create completely different types of pilots. Airbus trains their pilots to be computer managers. The focus is on understanding procedures, following the computer's guidance, and trusting the automated systems. During normal flight, the workload is super low. The plane practically flies itself. Pilots can focus on big-picture decisions rather than constantly adjusting controls. But there's a controversial downside. When you rarely hand-fly the plane, and when you do, the computer limits what you can do, how do you stay sharp for a real emergency? Some critics say Airbus pilots can lose their basic flying skills. Boeing focuses on keeping pilots' hands-on flying skills razor sharp. Boeing pilots have to constantly make small adjustments, feel the plane's behavior, and stay engaged with the flight dynamics. They argue this continuous practice keeps them ready for the day when everything fails. So, after everything I've told you, the crashes, the philosophical battles, the computer versus human debate, which company builds safer planes? Here's the answer that might surprise you. Statistically, they're exactly the same. When you adjust for how many planes each company has built and how many flights they operate, Airbus and Boeing have virtually identical safety records. Both are extraordinarily safe. You're equally safe on either plane. The question isn't which is safer, it's which philosophy you believe in. Do you think humans are the problem? That we need computers to protect us from our own mistakes? Then Airbus makes sense. Do you think humans are the solution? That our judgment and creativity can save us when the computers fail? Then Boeing's approach makes sense. The real answer? Both philosophies have strengths and deadly weaknesses. The Air France crash proved that depending too much on computers can make pilots forget how to actually fly. The 737 MAX crashes, the shocking secret I revealed at the beginning, proved that hiding computer systems from pilots destroys trust and kills people. Boeing deliberately concealed MCAS to save money on training, and it cost 346 lives. The future isn't about choosing one philosophy over the other. It's about combining the best of both. Computers that protect us but are totally transparent about what they're doing, and pilots who stay skilled at manual flying while using automation intelligently. Because at the end of the day, your safety depends on humans and computers working together perfectly, not fighting each other for control. And as we saw with MCAS, when manufacturers hide systems from pilots to cut costs, the results are catastrophic. So remember that shocking fact from the hook. Yes, Boeing really did hide a critical flight control system from pilots, and it led to 2 of the deadliest crashes in modern aviation. That's the danger of prioritizing profit over transparency. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden world of aviation, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button for Runway Reveals. We expose the secrets, scandals, and stories that airlines don't want you to know. Because you deserve to understand what's really happening when you fly. And if you found this valuable, drop a comment below. Do you prefer Airbus or Boeing's philosophy? Let's discuss.